Well, with the long nights that we're currently experiencing at the moment, and frankly, not a lot else to do, now is the time to look up to the skies and search. And in fact, you can lend a hand, or maybe I should say technically a pair of eyes, to the CPRE's Star Count 2021, where members are encouraged to survey the night sky. And it starts on Saturday, February the 6th, and runs until Valentine's Day, which is, of course, the 14th. And joining me now to explain a little bit more about it is Dr. Neil Havard from the Cotswold Astronomical Society. Hi there, Neil.
Hello there, Mark.
Let's turn the clock back, can we, right to the beginning of your interest in astrology and how you started off looking at the skies.
Well, I do go back a long way because, as you can probably tell, I'm in my 60s now, but I've been interested in astronomy since childhood. And like a lot of my age, I grew up with the Sky at Night and Patrick Moore, and many have sort of taken a general interest and then left it, but I've always stuck with this interest through the rest of my life. And even acquired a telescope at a relatively young age, small as it was, but it helped me to see the wonders of the night sky. So
I should clarify at this point. I should clarify at this point that I actually meant astronomy, not astrology, which are, of course, two different things. So apologies. I'm sure that's something that happens quite a lot, isn't it?
It does happen quite a lot.
Anyway.
That's fine.
So before we chat about the Star Count 2021, can you tell us a little bit about the picture that's behind you? Because it looks absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure it isn't a green screen. I'm sure it's a real picture.
Right. Yes. Well, it's a picture of the Pleiades, sometimes called the Seven Sisters, and it's one I took myself a few years ago using a remote telescope, where you can log on to a commercial telescope and take the photographs yourself and then download the images and stack and add them. So these are young hot stars with clouds of gas around them. And it's not that far from Orion, so it will be visible in the sort of western sky during this period, throughout February. And they're a little cluster, they're not as big as that in the sky, but it's a lovely little cluster of stars and well worth looking at with binoculars.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Star Count, because you mentioned Orion there, which is the central thing, isn't it, to Star Count? Do you want to talk us through how Star Count works and what it is exactly?
Yes, well, we've used the constellation of Orion to do the star count for a number of years now, because it's a prominent constellation that most people can recognize. And the principle is that you simply count how many stars that you can see with the naked eye in the rectangle that forms the four corners of the constellation of Orion. And we can use that to measure the amount of light pollution that is interfering with the night sky. And it's a simple process that anyone can do as long as they can count. It doesn't need any astronomical experience. So an ability to count and to see is all that is needed, but it's really valuable information.
And you and I have both done this. We've logged on to the CPRE's website and clicked onto the information. So it is a very simple, straightforward process, which anybody can do. But for the people that are watching our chat today, can you describe what Orion looks like and where we might find it in the night sky from Gloucestershire?
Yes, indeed. Well, to find Orion, first, it'll be in the south of the sky. So you'll need to know roughly which is north, south, east, and west, from the south to southwest throughout the evening. And it's very prominent because it's got a bright red star at the top left corner, Betelgeuse, and a bright white one at the opposite corner in the bottom right, Rigel, and the well-known belt of Orion, three bright stars across the middle. So it's a fairly prominent constellation. And the principle is that you simply count how many stars you can see within that rectangle.
Hmm.
It's very simple to do, and if you, it's very best, you could just simply log on to the website. In fact, if you Google the CPRE Star Count 2021, you get to the page and you simply register. I've done it myself, and it's a very simple process to do.
Yeah.
So I do encourage people to do this.
And whilst there are two things from what I can see. One is awakening an interest in astronomy for anybody, but I suspect for primarily younger people. But secondly, it's this assessment of light pollution, which you referred to earlier on, which frankly, for those of us like me who live in the city, it's a bane. And my night sky vision is not particularly good.
I couldn't agree more. And I remember in my childhood that light pollution was a lot less noticeable. And I do fear that many young people these days who live in cities have no idea of the beauty of the night sky, the number of stars, and have probably never even seen the Milky Way.
Yeah.
Perhaps those in the countryside may have a better view, but the level of light pollution has severely interfered with that. And it's not, yes, we like the interest in astronomy and we'd like to encourage that in young people, but everyone needs that connection. It gives us a sense of a proportion to our lives when we see the vastness of space.
And what can people like you and I, it's different for you because you belong to the Cotswold Astronomical Society, which we'll talk about in a second, but ordinary members of the public, I mean, how do you actually take some action? If this is something that concerns you, what can one do to prevent it or reduce it, perhaps?
Yes, that's a good point to have made. It is important that we all try to do our bit here, because it's not just, I mean, I am an astronomer, but it also has a profound impact on wildlife. And obviously any creatures that are trying to sleep through the night, then their rhythms are interfered with. Even plants and insects do get interfered with. So we're, it's important that we do what we can. Now, as individuals, many do have outside lights, and for a start, if they're not needed, please switch them off. Is a simple thing. Often people will leave outside lights on through the evening, and if they're not needed, then don't waste your energy, switch them off. And security lights, it's important that they're directed properly. Many of them are pointing out and upwards into the sky. Point them downwards if they're needed, and make sure that they're only activated by motion. To have something on permanently like that is expensive, unnecessary, and does cause a lot of pollution, light pollution in particular. So,
okay, so that's good advice. So just to summarize then, so it's dead easy to find out about Star Count 2021. Just Google it and put it into a search engine, you'll find the details. But your own society, Neil, how long has that been going for, and do you have many members?
Yes, it's been going quite a few years. I'm thinking it's something like 20 to 30. I wasn't a founding member, but it has been going a long time. We have over 100 members now, so it's quite a sizable one, and that's people of all ages. Well, not very young children, but we do get from teenagers through to the old people like me. And no sort of prior knowledge is ever needed. We're a friendly bunch. And we do normally meet the first Saturday of every month, but obviously through lockdown, that's a little difficult to do. I should say, actually, I meant the second Saturday of every month in Sherdington Hall. But we do still run Zoom meetings every month, and we would like more members, of course. And so we'll look forward to welcoming anyone that wants to join the Cotswold Astronomical Society.
Okay, well,
I was going to say, as a society, we do take dark skies seriously. And I'm also a member of the Cotswold Conservation Board committee that is trying to acquire dark sky reserve status for the whole of the area of outstanding natural beauty, which is once restrictions are lifted, we will be able to resume our task of attempting that.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. And don't forget the CPRE's Star Count 2021 starts on Saturday, February the 6th and lasts until the 14th. Neil, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks.